Well, good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for coming out on this Sunday afternoon. Started soggy, but I'm glad to see the sun is out. My name is Gene Norman. I'm going to be serving as your host, MC, if you will, for this afternoon's exciting event. I've been a Roswell resident for since 2015. And during that time, I noticed that we used to have a Kohl's across the street, Target down the street, and in January, the Taco Bell closed. There are a lot of things changing, unfortunately, for the negative here in Roswell, but there are some exciting things that will be happening, and that's one of the reasons why we're here today, because soon a new light will shine called the Beacon in East Roswell. It's the brainchild of native Atlantans Lee Jenkins and David Allman. And they know that's going to help bring this part of East Roswell back to life a little bit. And they're so glad that you came out today to hear the details of this exciting and innovative project. Let me first tell you about David. He is the owner and chairman of Regent Partners, a real estate investment and development company based in Atlanta. He graduated from Dartmouth College in 1976, magna cum laude with distinctions in economics. David has been in the commercial real estate business for 43 years. Regent Partners has developed or acquired more than $2.5 billion in real estate assets, including some buildings you probably know, like the King and Queen on 400, also known as the Concourse Office Park, Tower Place in Buckhead, and the Sovereign in Buckhead, which is the tallest building built in Atlanta in 30 years. Now, Mr. Allman is active in numerous real estate, civic, and ministry initiatives. He's been married for 41 years to Donna, has 4 adult children, and 13 grandchildren. Let's give David a hand. That's a pretty impressive resume, right? Lee Jenkins is the founder and senior pastor of Eagles Nest Church in Roswell. He's also the managing partner of Lee Jenkins Stewardship Group, a financial education and consulting firm helping pastors and church executives make great business and financial decisions. He's also a native Atlantan, a proud graduate of the University of Tennessee. The Vols, yeah. And he's been an active East Roswell resident for over 20 years. Prior to establishing Eagles Nest Church, Lee had a stellar 25-year career in financial services, where he reached the level of vice president of investments at 2 major Wall Street firms. Lastly, Lee has been happily married to Martika for over 35 years. They have 3 grown children, a daughter, Kristen, and 2 sons, Martin and Ryan, and Martin is here with us today. Now, here's the flow of this afternoon's presentation. Let's give Lee a hand. That's right, I'm sorry. Got ahead of myself. So here's the flow of what we're going to do this afternoon in the time that we're together. First, Lee and David will lay out their vision for the Beacon. Then they'll address some myths and misconceptions that have been floating around to help people understand what's really going on. And finally, they'll answer your questions. So first, we'll hear from Lee Jenkins.
Right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm so glad that you are here. Wow, David, hearing about your bio, man, I tell you, that's pretty impressive. 13 grandchildren. I have 3 grown children. One of my sons is here, and I just want to say, well, I'm ready for some grandchildren, all right? I'm ready for some grandchildren. So, yeah, no pressure. So David was it Sigma cum laude, something? Magna cum laude. I was please laude. Can I please get my degree? So anyway, I'm a big Tennessee fan, if you know me, and I love Tennessee football. I love Atlanta. I really love Roswell. So over 20 years ago, my wife and I decided to move to this great suburb of Atlanta. And it was on purpose. It was not because a job or a company transferred me here. I could have lived anywhere in Atlanta because I was born and raised here. I chose Roswell. I chose Roswell because of the schools, because of the parks, because of the location, because of the diversity, because of the athletic competition. Both of my boys ended up playing Division I college football, so I saw at a young age where they might have had some potential, so I wanted to get them in an area where they could have some good competition. And I also chose Roswell because of the consumer choices, whether it's restaurants or stores. So I thought it would be a really great life, or a great place rather, to raise my family, and it has been. I don't regret it at all. One of the favorite places Martika and I used to go and have dinner was a restaurant called Aqua Blue. Yes, y'all like Aqua Blue? Here's the bad thing, it's gone. Martika and I loved when Target came. And man, going in that store, my friends who know me, they call me Pastor OCD, okay? I just like clean white floors, and man, there was something about going in Target and seeing all that stuff. It was always clean and so neat, and they had everything I needed. But Target is not here anymore. And then me being a sports fan, and I love to have a hamburger or some fries on a Saturday or Friday night and be able to watch television, a game or two. So I would love to go to Taco Mac. And again, Taco Mac is gone. And then if I needed a pair of underwear or some socks, I would go to Kohl's department store. And now Kohl's is gone. Okay, I'm kind of glad they're gone because we wouldn't be here having this conversation right now. But the bottom line, all four of these places and many more underscores that there is a problem. And so I have always tried to be a problem solver, especially if I have a lot of passion toward a community or toward a certain thing. So I believe that one of the things that Roswell needs is economic sustainability in their businesses and some economic revitalization. So in 2019, our church was growing prodigiously. And we were having 3 services. We were over off of Mansell Road and Old Roswell Road in a business complex. And I was looking for somewhere that we could have our services. A real estate developer friend of mine called me and he says, Lee, I'm developing a new concept, a multi-purpose building concept that would be a destination place for people in Alpharetta. It's going to be anchored by a child care place, state-of-the-art auditorium, co-working, and we want to see how this multi-use building can not only attract people in the community, but how these different businesses that have synergy can work together. And we want to see if it can work. Would your church like to be the guinea pig in this concept? I said, I'm in. Now, we knew that was not going to be our permanent home, but we wanted to test this multi-purpose building concept, and we did. In 2019, right off of Old Milton Parkway and Morris Road, if you drive down Morris Road, you'll see a building called Phase Family Center, P-H-A-S-E Family Center. It is also an event center. Concerts are held there, conferences are held there. If you call them right now and tried to book their auditorium, you would have about a 6-month wait because it's that much demand in North Fulton for event places. And it's just a pretty cool concept. So as I got to know this developer and as I got to see how this concept would work, I went to this guy and I said, hey, I would like for you to look at a piece of property in Roswell because I believe this concept or something close to it could work right off of Holcomb Bridge Road. And he said, well, Lee, I'd love to look at it, but I'm going to have to make sure, this meets our criteria from a real estate standpoint. So to make a long story short, he looked at it and he liked it, and we did a joint venture with this group in 2020, It was going to be some pickleball courts, indoor and outdoor, some restaurant concepts, and an event center, which is where our church would use it on Sunday mornings. But outside of Sunday mornings, and maybe some Sunday afternoons, it's open to the public. And so we put a contract on the Kohl's complex, including the out parcels. This was in 2020. I let my partners take the lead in that because they were the real estate experts, but I was very involved behind the scenes, and I was so excited about it. We put in all the permits and everything was going good. We even had a Zoom meeting for some of the Roswell citizens, and it was overwhelmingly positive. And about a month or so before we closed, my partners came to me and they said, "Hey, Lee, we got some good news and some bad news. The bad news is we don't believe we want to go through with this because we found some property in another county and we think we can build the concept from the ground up and make it exactly like we want it. So the bad news is we're not going to close, and there's some economic issues involved too." He said, "The good news is you all can, you're the partner, so you all can take this over and do it yourself." Well, I didn't believe we were strong enough at that time to do it ourselves. And so we had to let the deal die, and it did. I was very disappointed, and I know a lot of people in Roswell were very disappointed. So my prayer, and I'm just being honest, was if we get an opportunity to do this again, and if I could find a new partner who really loves Roswell and who really wants to help this community and who believes in what we're trying to do in the community, if I could find a partner, then I'll take another run at this. And so I've known David Allman since I was a teenager, and I called him up, and one thing led to another, brought him over here, told him about Roswell, told him about you all, how the people in Roswell really need a place, and there have been so many places that have closed, and we're frustrated as East Roswellians. And so David, as any great real estate guy would do, he did his due diligence, even though he likes me and we've been friends, but it had to make economic sense as well. And so after David did his due diligence, he says, "Yes, I think we ought to take a run at this." And so that's what we did. We formed a joint venture, and there are a lot of talk out there, is this going to be just a church? No, so much more. And we do have a vision, but we're really open. We want to hear from you. So this is not just a one-way conversation. This is us talking about what's on our heart and some of the things that we believe this community needs and some of the things that can work. But this is also about hearing from you, because like myself, you have had to endure a lot of these frustrations of things not working, of having to drive to Norcross or Alpharetta to have, or maybe go to Canton Street, but I'm talking about this side of Roswell. There have not been a lot of choices for us that are nearby. And we desire to make this area, this property, a destination property, somewhere where we can have people coming in and spending money and interacting with each other. And we want to spur some economic activity, and we want people to just enjoy life together. So that's why you all are here. And so if I had to describe my feelings from a business standpoint when I look at East Roswell, I would describe it as it being partly cloudy and sometimes stormy, okay? But I believe what we're going to discuss today, we're going to see the sun rise again at East Roswell. So we want to talk about our vision called The Beacon at East Roswell. The Beacon, because we desperately need the sun to shine on us on this side of Roswell. So I'm going to introduce, well, he's already been introduced, but I want David to come up in a few moments. But before I do that, let me tell you a few things about our vision as it relates to the Beacon at East Roswell. It's about 15.5 acres, and one of the reasons that I got involved in this is because, yes, our church wanted a place where we could worship on Sundays and have a place that would be accessible to us when we did maybe a conference or two. But for the most part, we wanted the primary use of this to be for the community. We wanted this to be somewhere where we could host concerts, host conferences, host parties, have special meetings, somewhere that would be a state-of-the-art auditorium where people could come to and do weddings, things like that. But then we will have smaller multi-purpose rooms where you can do, different business meetings or, whatever you would like. And then we would have even smaller conference rooms that you could meet in with 6 or 8 people if you needed a conference room. We will also have a common area with tables and sofas where you can just come hang out, almost like a Starbucks type atmosphere. And so we just wanted somewhere where people could come and congregate and enjoy each other and take care of business. And so the event center would be a combination of an auditorium. I'm going to show you some pictures in a moment. And these are not the detailed things. We're just basically actually showing you some general things, not detail. But imagine an auditorium, about a 800 to 1,000 seat auditoriums, but the seats will not be bolted on the floors because we want you to be able to do anything you want to do there in terms of how you want your event to be. So you might want to do a business event and have round tables. Well, if the seats are bolted, then you couldn't do that. So we want this to be a true multi-purpose building. So imagine an auditorium, a really reputable local, regional, or national child care place, offices, common area, as I've already said, and then surrounded by other synergistic businesses. And I'll let David talk a little bit more about that, but maybe a food and beverage concept, maybe a sports or fitness concept, just something that would bring people to the area, families and people, and they can enjoy each other. And so if somebody is coming to, let's just call it a fitness center, well, right after that, they can go and get something to eat. And then maybe they get something to eat and they want to have a business meeting, then they go right across the parking lot and they reserve one of the conference rooms. So what we're trying to do is to just create an atmosphere where people can enjoy each other and enjoy their life, do business, and just do life together. So with all that being said, that's the general concept. I want to show you something on the screen, but I think I want to wait to after David talks a little bit. So David, before I put that on the screen, I would just love for you to kind of talk about your vision and you being involved in this, and then I want to show you all something. It's just a very general rendering of a layout of the inside of the building. Okay? All right.
Thank you, Lee. And welcome, council member. Glad to have you here with us today. My friendship with Lee goes back quite a while. We reconnected in recent years and really enjoyed that friendship. And he called me one day and asked if I'd be interested in looking at this property with him. And we had laid the groundwork even before that call that if and when he had an opportunity that he thought had some redevelopment opportunity with it, that he would call and I would say I'd do whatever I could to help. And of course, my background is in mixed-use development. But as Lee mentioned, it's 15 acres. A center like this with Kohl's departed, you really have a moment in time to reimagine or rebrand a property like this. 15 acres is a fairly large parcel to find in Roswell today. And so, we started to think about what would a reimagining or rebranding look like for this property. And Lee has shared some of his vision for it. When I think about it, there are a couple of overarching themes. One is, the church is in and of the community. Lee's long-term history and many in his congregation's history with Roswell and East Roswell in particular. But clearly this is kind of anchored right in the middle of East Roswell, and it'd be foolish not to think of this as a community asset that you want to leverage for the benefit of the community. So I think that's where when Lee says, we want to hear from y'all, that's exactly what we want to do. I mean, when you talk about daycare, that's the concept, but what about what kind of food and beverage options would you like to see that aren't in this area, or recreational or entertainment type of opportunity? So, but I think so. One is this community. What are the gaps and the needs that the community would like to see to make this a thriving hub that is well utilized and serves the local community? But we've also had conversations with the city council and the mayor, and they would love to see this be a destination location for destination facilities. And so we're very open to exploring that. I mean, we were looking at some pickleball type concepts. Again, obviously pickleball has just gone in down the street now, but those type of concepts that could have both local and citywide draw. So we want to consider those. We'll probably do some short-term leasing, like Petco's in there now. We'll probably extend them for a short period of time, which will give us some time to consider options for the balance of some of the space in the big existing box. But we've got those two out parcels that we love to do something exciting in those arenas that we're talking about, and we've got a good bit of parking right now. So we're beginning to hone in on a few ideas, but there's flexibility in what we do there. And again, I'm an investor in the project with a friend of mine who Lee also knows well. We are advising Lee, we are supporting Lee, we're complimenting Lee and the church with what they do. And, hopefully when everything is said and done, this will be a project that you feel is serving your community and that you're very proud of, and that it's a place that you frequent because it's providing you the type of amenities that you want to enjoy your life here in Roswell. So I'll stop there.
That's awesome. So let me just show you all a graphic right quick. And again, this is a very general graphic. I'm going to use a little pointer here. Let's see here. Okay. So right at the bottom, I tell you what, I'll move this. Okay. David, if you could grab that chair, just move it over just a little bit. Thank you, sir. Okay. So at the bottom here is, let's just call this Holcomb Bridge Road right here, okay? So Holcomb Bridge is right at the bottom. So this is the entrance to the Kohl's department store, the former Kohl's department store on the Holcomb Bridge side. This is the entrance near Centennial High School of the Kohl's, former Kohl's building. So this right here, Petco is over here. This area right here is about 27,000 square feet that we're going to keep open for a complementary or synergistic business. And we have been talking to some people about this. This area right here, all the way, that square block right here is about 60,000 square feet. And this part right here is where we're going to do a child care or a preschool. And it's something that we will use on Sundays, but it would be open, obviously, to the public. So imagine a preschool right in this area. And then this area right here is the common area where people would come through the door And we will have sofas and chairs, maybe a little coffee place, places where you can sit at tables, all in here. That's a conference room right here, conference room right here. And then we have these multi-purpose rooms right here that you could use for smaller gatherings. And then right here is another smaller auditorium that you could use for, smaller gatherings as well. All of this will be open to the public. And then, of course, these are just some bathrooms. But the main thing is right here. This is the main auditorium. We'll probably call it the Beacon Auditorium or something like that. And it's right now, the way we have it, this is the stage. The seating capacity right here is about 1,000 people, but all of these seats can be removed. All of these seats right here, which will kind of sit up like stadium-style seats, will be right in here. This is where the audio people will be, and this is the stage and green rooms, etc., equipment, and this is backstage. So we're talking about this space right here. Well, my God, yeah, right here, all the way to here, which is about 3/5 of the Kohl's and Petco space. Of course, Petco is over here. And then the out parcels obviously will be down toward here, which was a former Rite Aid, and you have the Moe's there, and as you know, Moe's is moving to this new property right on the corner of Eves Road and Old Scott Road. And then, of course, there's a little bit more space here. So the out parcel space has tremendous potential, and I'll let David talk to that. But this is just real high-level vision right here, you all. For us as a church, obviously this would be where we would meet, and we would use, a lot of this on Sunday mornings. But you know what? There's some synergy there. When we were at Faye's Family Center, there were multiple events going on. So we would have our service, and there might be a small meeting somewhere else in the building. So it's all about, multiple events going on, serving the community. So that's just something basic. We wanted you all to see at least a high-level vision of what some possibilities are for this space. So, David, you want to add anything to that? And we can come back right over here.
No, not too much. I would love to hear from anyone out there as to questions they have or thoughts they have.
Yeah. And we have 2 microphones here. You can come up and ask your questions or just comment. But this is, we just wanted to share our hearts with you, our dreams, our vision, our concerns, and we want to hear from you. Okay? Yes, sir. Would you mind going to the microphone? Yes, thank you.
Yeah, when you want to ask your question, please come into the aisle, stand behind the microphone.
Okay.
Thanks.
Let's have the lights up.
That way everyone
okay,
can hear the
great.
questions.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Let's put that back up. Okay. And let's make sure that mic is on.
Lee, I love the drawing and the sketch. When we toured the Kohl's facility, the area in the back had most of the ceiling height.
Yes.
Is there anything unique that you're thinking about with that ceiling height?
Yeah, that's a great question. You talked about the ceiling height, and right now we believe it's too low. Would that be for an auditorium? Because when you do major productions, you need lights, and if those lights are too close, it'll make that stage hot. So we are thinking about raising the roof on the auditorium portion, which is a significant cost. In fact, that was one of the reasons our original partners in 2020 bailed out of the deal, because it's significant. But I am committed to seeing something special in this area, and David is too. So we've already kind of put that into the equation. So we're still looking at it, but yes, it looks like we're going to have to raise the portion of the roof for the auditorium area. David, would that be good? Okay, great. Let's go over here.
Hi, I've lived here about 28 years and lived just across the street. And I've always wanted a farmer's market that people could go to. I think indoor restaurant, like a horseshoe of restaurants that people could visit would be a definite positive thing. I don't think we need any more housing things here. So that's what I would like to see, and I'd like to see that Petco remain somewhere in this complex, because that is someplace I go to pretty regularly, and I think a lot of other people do as well. So that's just my way, and thanks.
I love what you just said.
Yeah, and we'll be, on the food and beverage side, we're going to be doing a deep dive on viable food and beverage options for this site, and that could be one or it could be several, clustering, but we're going to, that's kind of a core priority of ours, and so hopefully we will bring some concepts that the area would like to see.
Great suggestions. Great.
I've been here about 20 years. I'm from Martin's Landing. I have 1,000 ideas for you, so I will be in touch. As a mom of a middle schooler going into freshman, there is nowhere for our kids to hang out unless you're spending $30 an hour. I cannot afford that. I'm on disability and I have cancer. I don't have time for those costs. I don't need pickleball. I need a place where my kid can skateboard. I need a place where my teenager can go game in a common area with other gamers and be safe, monitored a little bit, but have a teenage zone. There is nothing here for them. And I do not have the money to do let's go to Sky Zone for 2 hours. Okay, now what? I'm an artist. There's nowhere that celebrates the arts. We need something like that here. I've been to Colorado, and I've been to Winston-Salem, those nice little communities. They have things where they have open-air music venues with cute little bistro-type places. We don't need, God bless Basque, I'm not dissing Basque, but I went to a place where they had booths that literally they had Thai food, Italian food, something else food, and they shared a common table area. And you went to the booth flavor you wanted, you bought it, and you sat and ate. There were benches and pillows, skylights with light coming down. Amazing. If Winston-Salem can do it, Roswell can do this.
Sure can.
So please come, please do this.
Yes.
We're ready, but we don't need a food court full of fried food garbage. We don't need any more Zaxby's, less Zaxby's.
Yes.
We need affordable options, but we also need some culture. Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you.
I think that's worth a hand clap. The first two comments. David, before you say something, I want to say something that I did not mention. This area, let's see here. My wife okay, so this area right in here is going to be dedicated to our youth. This is more children, but this is more youth. Now, we will have some private offices right in here. So this auditorium, and so this whole area, we're looking at some gaming rooms. Martika, what else have we thought about? Okay. Well, you know what? Oh, yeah, okay. Yes.
Yes, we're planning on building gaming rooms for the teens, also having teens to be able to come to the facility after school. We have an amazing member here who already has a tutoring company, and we were going to utilize her services for maybe after-school tutoring and so forth too. So we definitely have the teens in mind. They are top of mind because our kids went to Centennial, so we know some of the things that they need. Thank you.
Yeah, our kids went to Holcomb Bridge Middle School and Centennial, and so we concur 100% with those comments. And I want to make sure somebody's taking notes because these are some great ideas, and I think I can remember most of this, but okay, let's go on this side.
Okay, Ryan Simmons, here with my lovely wife, Tanisha, East Roswell residents of 2 years, so I'm glad to be here. So two-part question. Number one, noticed a lot of conversation was had about the Kohl's leaving, Target leaving, the Taco Mac leaving, and also there's a dark studio movie grills as well. What are the common themes of why they've been leaving, and how do we not sort of repeat that history? Then the second part to that question is, has a feasibility analysis been done of similar projects across the US, and how we could sort of pick some of the best practices from those similar projects?
That's a great question. We have a council person here, a councilman here, and Peter, if you don't mind, I think you ought to come on and get some of this heat, all right? I don't think it just should be the two of us, all right? We would love to hear, and we're going to obviously interject, but we would love to hear your comments regarding that question, because this is something you and all of us have been very frustrated with and wonder, why aren't things working here? Would you mind? Okay.
Well, I am Peter Vanstrom, your councilman, and I actually campaigned very much on these very subjects right here, and making sure that East Roswell is taken care of and that East Roswell grows and continues to grow and flourish. And I think that question is really, 2 years you've been here and you're asking the perfect question. And what we are working on is we are looking at the economic impact and what types of developments can be successful in East Roswell. We have a study right now that's just been completed that we'll be sharing. I think if you haven't seen it yet, I don't know, did you guys seen it? Okay, well, you'll be seeing that because we just got it all finalized. And that's what we need, and you're exactly right. So those are the steps that we have been taking to make sure that whatever we're looking at, whether it's on Kohl's, whether it's movie studio, grill, wherever that is, that it will be economically viable. Because that question always has to be asked, why didn't Target work? And why didn't the TJ's work? Well, I'm just echoing his question, and so we are looking at it very, very, very closely. We will have the market study to share, and it'll help in this type of a decision. Which, by the way, I do want to also mention, there's a brand new skating park going right across the street. Now, your children crossing the street to get to the park may be a whole nother subject that we're going to have to really work hard on, and we will work hard on with transportation, because something that's so exciting about what Lee is trying to do for you here is it's going to complement $13 million of city investment at East Roswell Park that is going to upgrade that park to be a premier park for this area, including a skateboard park for your kids. So that's so exciting that we've got across the street, we've got this concept that we're talking about, and immediately the park is where I was committed for the minute I got into council to make sure that park became a jewel again, because that's what it was years ago. So did I answer the two questions? You got one more that I didn't.
Yeah, the second part of it is just like, has a feasibility study been done for similar projects across the U.S. and to learn the best practices from those? That was the second part of the question.
The economic viability market study touches on those topics. As far as a specific, will this exact concept work? We will dissect further into that, because I know they want it to work as much as we want it to work, and I'm telling you, these two, when they get it going, what they touch turns to gold. So it's going to be successful.
I see this concept. It is working in certain places throughout the United States. It's working in right outside of Washington, D.C. There is a multi-purpose concept that was really a church partnered with a real estate developer. And then, of course, remember me mentioning Faye's Family Center on Morris Road in Alpharetta. That would be a really good prototype, even though this will be a little bit different. But most communities really welcome these multi-use, multi-purpose type concepts. But we will certainly look at more prototypes and learn from them. But it is kind of I wouldn't say it's new, because when you think about a strip shopping mall, you have different places, and sometimes they complement each other. And this is the same concept. Can you come on this property and enjoy yourself over here, and then walk right down a few hundred feet and then do something else, and then walk a few feet more and enjoy something else? And that's the whole concept of a plaza. David, you have any comments?
Yeah, and we're working with our real estate company that's doing the leasing and property management for us, and are going through a branding exercise with them and a marketing exercise with them. And like I say, we're going to be up here this week with a restaurant curator that has done a lot of the stuff in downtown Alpharetta and Woodstock, and really brainstorm on some concepts. So I think we've got the connections to the experts, and of course what Peter was just sharing with the study that the city's done. The city has been very vocal in wanting to see something good happen on this property. So I think we've got good resources to avail ourselves of that will help us kind of piece together what would be exciting for the community.
Yes, sir.
A couple questions I have. One, I like this.
Thank you.
Having toured the Kohl's building many times to look at it, there's a tremendous amount of, what do you want to call it, pillars? And to do 1,000 seats, open seats, you're going to have to take off the whole roof and restart all over is what it looks like to me. Having been in construction, I just don't know. That's one question.
We think we can pop it up just where the auditorium is.
Okay.
So.
Second question is, this is listed as commercial area. Do you plan on leaving it zoned as commercial?
I'm trying to think what it's currently zoned right now.
It's zoned as commercial right
Yeah,
now.
it's commercial.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
Yeah. Makes
And I
sense.
think the people want to know,
What would
because
be
it's part of
your-
the tax base, and want to know if it's going to be rezoned to something else.
No.
Churches, whatever,
I
are we going
think-
to lose that part of the tax base?
I think we believe we'll be able to do everything we envision doing under the commercial zoning that's
Okay.
in place.
All right. And then the last part is, last week there was an announcement made, I think it was Connors, I'm not sure. It's putting up an amphitheater, stadium for a hockey center, all up within driving distance of here. And they're talking about 1,000+ auditorium too. And you've got Gas South, you've got the others. Do you think have you done an economic study to show that we could make this auditorium work as far as revenue generation?
Okay. I'll take a shot at that. And I know you're talking about the proposed
Right.
property incoming,
Right.
Which a lot of people some people think that's a pipe dream,
Well,
but I hope it can come to pass.
We've sat here and watched this Kohl's property. I've lived here for over
Yeah.
20 years.
Yes.
And we've watched all of these properties change.
Yeah,
So, and we've seen
absolutely.
people come in,
Yes.
promise, and then go away. So
Yes. Okay.
let's, yeah.
All right, so let me just give you my perspective on the auditorium. And these are true two perspectives. Number one is I have seen it work over the last couple of years because I have been involved in a similar concept right up the street from us. And it has been incredible in terms of the demand. In fact, it was so incredible, it was frustrating for us because we were using it on Sundays, and occasionally we wanted to use it on some other nights and evenings, and it was booked. So, but that's a good economic problem to have. Secondly is our church obviously will be using it on Sundays. So, but it would be open. So I know there's demand only because of what is going on in Alpharetta and what is going on in other places that are just looking for room to have significant meetings in, and even conferences. I'll say this last thing. It will be a little difficult to have conferences here only because you have to have hotels and restaurants
Right.
to complement it. But I do believe if we can really develop this, then it could be a place that will really attract a lot of people. So I believe it's going to work.
One last question.
Okay, no
Don't
problem.
mean to take up all your time. One last question. When is, right now, if you keep on the track you're at, when is this, I came in late, you might have said it.
that's okay.
When is this proposed to start building, and when do you estimate it to be completed?
Boy, that's the question. You want to take a shot at it? Or you,
While you're preparing to answer the timing question, but I think what's important about the auditorium too is that our financial model, the church is bearing the burden of the financial responsibility for the auditorium. So we are not dependent upon a certain level of outside activity to make that pencil out. So while we want that revenue, want it to be used by the community, our financial model is not dependent upon that. So the fact that we have the church underwriting it for its use allows us to just use it incrementally.
Okay.
Yeah, great question. Timing-wise, that's the question, because a lot of timing is dependent on resources. And the more resources you have, the quicker things can go. And you have supply chain issues that we're dealing with. There are a lot of factors that are slowing our plans down. But we believe by next spring, by this time next year, we'll be able to open phase 1. So I'm going to say by March or April of next year.
And explain, not to raise, but all of us over here on this side of town have watched Target sit for almost 4 years before they started doing anything. And we're like, all right, how much of this stuff is going to sit before it goes on? And I'm sorry, one last, and I raised this to Councilman Vanstrom too. Has there been a traffic study or anything to look at Holcomb Bridge Road is so bad now, and with this type of traffic, it's going to be a nightmare for residents to get in and out, and for the traffic on that and all. Has anybody looked at that yet with DOT and RDOT?
We will eventually look at it. I know that's a part of the plan.
I mean, you know, Holcomb Bridge is a major arterial that has a lot of capacity. I mean, this is where you want a facility that's generating a lot of capacity. Kohl's is, you know, when they do their demographics, they look at traffic studies. So I don't think anything we're doing is going to be out of line with the way this property has been conceived, studied, trafficked throughout that. So whether that doesn't mean traffic is good. It just means it's, you know, this is better. This is a better location than many would be for this type of facilities. These type of facilities.
And one more thing I want to add to that, David. You all, we're really blessed with all of the ways you can enter and leave the property. For instance, you can enter the property and leave on Holcomb Bridge. And then you can enter it, I guess the Scott Road right behind. Then there's a little side road over there. And then there's another side road where you can come up by the Kroger and go through. And not a lot of places have 4 or 5 ways that you can get in and out. So I don't believe it will be a traffic problem. And it's primarily because the infrastructure is already there, and it's a pretty good infrastructure. And he also brought up, you all, he doesn't want to see something sitting for years. And neither do we, and that won't happen because we need to start using the place. I mean, we're here at the school now, and but we just want it to be special. So, and in order for it to be special, we have to continue to invest more resources in it. We could probably move there right now from a financial standpoint, but it wouldn't be the way we would like it to be. Okay, and so we want it to be something special, and that takes time and it takes money. But we believe a year from now is very realistic. Okay, let's go over here.
Sure. So most of what I was going to ask already got mentioned. But and when you say a year from now, just to be clear, you mean, sorry, when you say a year from now, you mean that you'll start to use the space or begin the construction?
Thank you for allowing me to clarify that. Use the space. Okay. Yes,
and
use the space.
For the out parcels, I think somebody else touched upon this, but I think one thing that would be nice in the area, as being a 2-year resident as well, would be maybe seeing like a food hall. You know, there's a food hall up at Halcyon.
Halcyon
there's
is really
a couple
nice.
Around the area more in Atlanta, but there's really nothing between the city and Halcyon. So I think that could be a major utilization that could really drive people.
Yeah, everybody's doing this. I mean, I go to Halcyon, David, and it's beautiful. It's so many choices. You can sit outside, you can go inside. It's just time for Roswell. I mean, other than Canton Street, it's just time for Roswell to have something like that.
Yeah, and we'd love to, if we could cluster, you know, food offerings and even combine it with some type of entertainment component, green space, things like that. That's what we'll be exploring, see if we can make something like that feasible.
All right, we'll do a few more questions.
So when Target closed, and they told us they closed because they built their grocery store too big, I was like,
You know,
well,
I can barely, a little bit closer. Can y'all
I-
remember with the mic?
oh, here, I'll just,
Okay, okay,
here,
great.
here. So when Target closed, I went and asked them like why they closed, and they were like, well, we built it really big because Holcomb Bridge has a lot of traffic, and we built a really big grocery store, and you guys didn't shop at the grocery store. And I was like, because we have 4? Like, I went to Target 4 days a week, but I didn't grocery shop at Target 4 days a week. But when they were talking about how to, like, could they save Target and then use the grocery store part as something else, I was like, can you do a food hall? And then can you do it like the fire station where you can have an incubator for restaurants so that we can go and support somebody who has a great idea for, I don't know, dumplings, and that's all they know how to make at this point, but it's the beginning concepts, right? And then they grow that concept, and then they can take over a regular food stall, and then they've grown out of the food stall and then can go into a full-size restaurant. But if you have a place that somebody could have a common kitchen that they know is, you know, up to standards, right? And then they can rent it out for a certain period of time, then they can grow. But it also means that everybody around who's like, you make the best cupcakes and you make the best this. You could go and be like, hey, it's 1 week only, you're gonna get your cupcakes and then I'm out, right? I'll do it again next year.
Gotcha.
I just think that that would be a great thing. And it also lets the kids here who have great entrepreneurial ideas, you know, test their ideas and their concepts because they have some great concepts
Gotcha.
and they're foodies like their parents. And if they feel like they're being supported, I think that, you know, they'll pop up and
It's awesome.
do better. Thanks.
All right. So y'all want to eat, in other words. All right. I like it. We got a lot of foodies here, okay? I love it. These are.
Go ahead.
Yes, I agree. Let's switch back to this side, and we'll do about 3 or 4 more, and then we'll have to start wrapping it up. Great comments and questions.
So I was a groomer at Petco, and they told us that we were closing in 6 months, that you guys were taking over in 6 months. That was 2 months ago. So I went to Alpharetta Petco. We had to tell all of our customers that we were closing, and then I was over at Alpharetta for a month and a half, and then they say, oh no, it's going to be 2 more years. So our customers are really, really upset. They don't know what's going on. There is no other place close by for dog grooming or dog food, dog toys, blah, blah, blah. And you're really not talking about Petco. We want to know what's happening with Petco. When are they going to close? I mean, is it going to be there still? I mean, we don't know.
We're in discussion with Petco. I'm not going to speak for them, but I think the management at Petco is aware of our discussions, and they can speak to those. I mean, we are having discussions about an extension of some period, and that has not been finalized, but that's where it stands. That's all I can really say at this point.
So it's not 2 more years?
Well, the terms are not finalized, so I don't want to speak to specific terms.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would like to dispel one, I guess you could call it a myth or just something that's not true. People think when you buy a property that you just come in and kick people out, but you can't do that if they're already under contract. So we honor people's contracts. So that's number one. We haven't kicked anybody out. We haven't said, oh, you have to go. If they're under contract, they're under contract. But some of these contracts are coming due, and we are, as David said, in discussions with their headquarters, and we'll see how it works, but we appreciate what you said.
And just to be sure on that, when we started talking with Petco, both parties thought it would be good to do some type of short-term extension to give both parties a chance to look at what the longer-range plans were. So it was kind of a mutual discussion to explore a short-term extension.
Okay, over here, we'll do about 3 more. Yes, sir.
So the main reason for the auditorium is your church. And the question is there room to expand the size of it if you need to? I know the church that I go started at 400. It's now at 2,500 with space to build a facility of 6,500 should they need to. And is this possible to expand? Because if you're going to be covering most of the costs for the auditorium, and if you grow over that and leave, where does that leave us?
It's a great question. Well, first of all, we're not going to leave. Secondly, what churches do, if they grow at a very high rate, they just do multiple campuses. And so that's kind of a plan B for us. But here's one of the reasons we don't think the auditorium, and we have already tested this at Faze Family Center. If the auditorium is too big, people won't use it. So even though the church, it may fit the church's needs to have 1,500 or 2,000 people coming, but most people don't want to do a wedding in a 2,000-seater auditorium. It's so big. So we need to keep it big enough to accommodate what we want to do and a lot of the events that we would like to attract. But it has to be small enough not to lose that intimate feel, because let's just take North Point, for instance. Andy Stanley is a very good friend of mine, and that place is huge. Very few weddings are done in the main auditorium at North Point because it's so big. So that's why we're not worried too much about, we want our church to grow, but we will look at multiple campuses. However, there will be maybe a wall or two that if we need to knock out, that we can do that.
How large is your auditorium?
Our auditorium, who's, okay, okay, great. What you just saw, Martika, help me out. Well, no, I just want you, okay, you're gonna go there, okay, great. She knows the exact number.
So the auditorium is 9,300 square feet.
But then have the seating capacity.
The seating capacity is up to 1,000, and that's if we use those back to portions in the back. It's up to 1,000. The main floor right now is the main floor right now is right at 800. Okay.
Okay, so 800 right here, and then another 100 or so right here, which is about 900 or so people. And that was on purpose, because when you start getting 1,500 or more, it just gets too big. And one more thing about our church, you know, as we continue to grow, we're not opposed to doing 2 and 3 or 4 services on a Sunday. It's just kind of what you buy into as a church. But our main goal is not exactly what our church needs, but what will be good for us and the community. That's why we need to keep it at about 1,000 seats or less. All right, let's do 2, no more than 3 more questions, and I think let's go with
to the right.
Since I'm walking to the microphone, hi, I'm Susan Seegers. I'm representing Roswell, Georgia citizens. We're a group of about 5,000 people who are politically active, some I recognize here.
You know what, if you could get a little bit closer to the mic.
I'm sorry.
There you go, thank you.
I hate microphones. I'm Susan Seegers with Roswell, Georgia citizens. We represent a politically active group of about 5,000 people in Roswell.
Yes.
So I have a couple of questions, and I'm going to try to move fast.
Okay.
One question we've gotten a lot, especially when this was first announced. What is the tax status of this organization? Are you incorporated as a nonprofit? Will you be tax exempt as a church?
Great question.
What is the tax status?
All right. Want me to go for it? All right, we're going to pay.
That's the first of a few.
No, that's
I'll
great.
be fast.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We're going to pay taxes. Okay.
That's good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's because most of the use. Remember, we are a church and we are a nonprofit, but our primary time is going to be on Sundays and occasionally throughout the week, but the majority of this property will be used for non-church related activities. Therefore, we want to pay, we will be paying taxes like a regular for-profit entity.
That sounds like what the community wants.
Yes.
What is in phase 1, and what are the other phases?
That is phase 1 that I just showed
What we just described?
you. Yes,
Okay,
that's right.
cool. I'm going to move.
And the other phases are the out parcels, what we do with that. Yes, that's phase 2.
Okay. Is there any housing component at all?
Not at this time.
Cool. And let's see, are you seeking additional financing? It sounds like you might be.
No.
So you're just are you trying to raise funds?
Wait a minute, are we seeking?
You had mentioned, resources and how
Yes.
that's going to affect timing.
Yeah.
Resources being financing, are you seeking financing?
Okay. No, I mean, unless somebody out there wants to write $1 million check,
You never know when somebody
we can
asks
do this
something
thing
like that.
next week. So, you know, I mean, no, we just realized, just like any major entity that is embarking upon a project, it takes time and money, and so we're always wanting this to happen more sooner than later. But according to the plan that we have, we're right on schedule financially in terms of a year from now being able to open phase 1.
Okay. And this is my last comment, and it's probably more personal than anything else. How familiar are you with the Petco beyond the merchandise and what they offer? Anything, I mean, or have you been in there? Are you familiar with what all they do there?
Well, we had a puppy, and we would go to Petco all the time, and so I'm very familiar with Petco, and I'm very familiar with how they serve the community.
Are you familiar with Fur Kids? It's the largest private rescue in the Southeast.
No, I'm not.
Rescuing cats and dogs. Well, Petco this Petco is the home of an adoption center for fur kids.
I didn't know that.
That I happen to manage.
Mm-hmm.
And this facility means the world to us as an animal rescue. We are part of the community. I mean, I'd like to know how many people are aware of Fur Kids in Petco and shop there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. How many of you want it to stay? Hopefully that's the same people.
It's kind of half and half, right?
Yeah, they're kind of ambivalent about it, okay.
Yeah.
My point being that it is part of the community. A lot of families, parents bring,
Yes.
Manya was talking about free experiences for families and kids. We let all families come in and help volunteer. We have a lot of kids that get their school volunteer hours. Taking care of our animals there and helping with adoptions, and it's a free entertainment. People bring their kids and they can pet and play with animals all they want. So my point in bringing all that up is, how important, is it important at all for you guys to keep Petco? I kind of suspect not, which it's a business thing, I know. But I wanted to add a little dimension of the community that you're trying to create and how you don't want to get rid of some of the components that are there. Are you willing to try to work with Petco to keep them?
Yeah, I think we think a short-term extension, which is what both parties have been discussing, will give both parties the time to assess, is this a good fit for them or a good fit for the project long-term? So I would say that's an answer that could go either way based upon how things play out. It's good to get this feedback to see what type of community support there is, but no long-term decision has been made at this point by either party.
Yes, I actually, Petco is a huge supporter of Fur Kids, so they communicate with us too, but we really want to hear what you have to say about what you would like to see, because we know that's going to really impact the outcome.
Well, we're here to listen too, and you have just enlightened me tremendously.
Oh, after this, I'll take you over there and we can, I'll introduce you to
Okay,
them, okay?
that's a bet.
I'm serious.
Okay, let's do that in a couple of weeks. I'm not very familiar with.
I was about to say, I'm available.
Well, I
now.
can't do it today, but but thank you. I'm serious. Let's get together.
I'll catch you.
Okay, I'm serious about that. That's one of the purposes of a meeting like this. I was significantly enlightened. I didn't know that. Thank you. All right, let's do about three more.
Good afternoon. My name is Leonard Goodleman. I've lived in 5 different houses within a 1.5-mile radius here in East Roswell. Spent 20 years on the volunteer fire department. So that was I had a lot of fun doing that. Only have 3 questions.
Okay.
Are you still going to allow student parking for the high school?
Oh, great question. I knew that was coming. All right, so when we bought the property, we did not want to disrupt anything. And by the way, Centennial High School is very dear to us. We've already invested just in this auditorium about $150,000. Yes, right. That's true. With the sound, everything.
I'm totally in favor of it, because I know how hard it is, for kids to get to school and they have their new car.
Yeah.
So I'm in favor of you allowing the students to park on the property.
But there are some liability issues that we have to consider, so we're going to work it out. But the answer is yes.
Thank you.
But we're going to have some parameters around that.
And it looks like you said no change to traffic patterns, entrance and exits at this time?
No, we're not anticipating any. Like I say, it's got multiple ingress, egress points right now. I think the access is actually pretty darn good for the
Right,
center.
because during the pickleball phase, they wanted to do away with the entrance on Old Scott, which didn't was hard to swallow for the East Roswell neighbors. Okay. And lastly, can you do something about the big rigs parking on your property?
You are a man of. Can you help me out on this?
I mean,
it has been.
It's your private property. The city doesn't have an ordinance for parking, so the city's not going to help you.
Yeah.
Unless the city gets a new.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to let.
Something needs to be done about the big rigs.
Oh, I know.
It attracts the wrong.
You said, can we keep the rigs?
We agree.
No, I don't want.
Yeah, we agree.
I agree with you. Okay. Yeah. I would like something to be looked at and then.
Well, we're doing more than just looking
I have
at
no
it.
problem with that black trailer with the Escalade because I think that's y'all's.
Yeah, that's ours. Yes, that's
I know.
ours. Well,
so I have no problem with that one, but it's the big rigs that just attracted less than.
Right.
And I'll sit down.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have already talked to our management company, Colliers. We're going to re-sign the whole place. A lot of them, they don't see that the signs aren't prominent, so they just figure, hey, nobody's here, we'll park our rigs here. We're re-signing the place. Then we have stickers now, and if we see a rig parked there, we'll put the sticker on there and warn them. And then the Roswell police, they're circling around. But the bottom line is probably going to take a few more months before people really get the message. Okay, thank you for being concerned. All right, Louis, these are the last two questions. By the way, you all, I'm learning so much. Thank you all for your candor.
Quick story about a church I lived near on Ponce back in the day. Huge congregation, huge basketball court, gymnasium. They would let people come in and use their gymnasium for events.
Mm-hmm.
One day, some Native Americans came and said, we want to have a powwow. And they went, yeah, do it. And they put out flyers and they invited everyone to come and see the culture. These are our dances. This is our music. Here's some food. At the last minute, the church got together at their elders meeting sometime and said, oh, wait, these guys don't worship Jesus. We have a problem with this. This is introducing paganism to our kids, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Separation of church and state is my favorite flavor of democracy, and I was just wanting you to express how you were going to make sure that despite your personal beliefs and or whatevers, that whoever comes to rent this auditorium and play heavy metal, Hispanic rap is going to be allowed to come in and do it because they've paid your fee, they've got the traffic security set up, and we choose to buy the ticket. That's all.
I like heavy metal Hispanic rap. I'm just playing. I don't know if there's a genre. Okay, that's a loaded question, but I'm going to answer it very simply. And by the way, when I heard that they had canceled the powwow at the last meeting, I owned a 5,000 square foot warehouse. Yeah. And my roommates and I let the powwow happen at our house. Good for you. So I just want to say, powwows rock. Okay, I'll have to keep that in mind. We are a church on Sundays, which is our primary use. But if we're opening it to the community, then we have to open it to the community. Now, should there be some parameters? Yes, but it's not necessarily based on our faith. But I do think there needs to be some parameters because some events could bring some negative element to this area, and we don't want that. So I'm not saying that anything will go, but I am saying that what we allow and don't allow will not be based on our faith. Okay? All right? So, last question. Hey, Dave.
Dave Bonslar
Hey,
from
man.
Bridge to Grace Church. Thanks for the opportunity to have us all here today. I love what you're doing, so thanks for putting the energy into it and making it happen. Is there a possibility, like the main auditorium, you may have said that, so if you did, forgive me for that. The main auditorium, could it be like a playhouse kind of a thing where you'd have theater?
For children or?
No, like plays, like kind of a community theater.
Like a community theater?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, part of the challenge with certain types of theater is that with the church on Sunday, if they have they need a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that would conflict. So
Yep.
it really
Yep.
depends upon what the market
Yep.
timing of events is
Yep.
as to whether it would be a match or not. But
Sure.
there's theoretically no opposition to it. It's just what fits for
If
them
it
and
would
the
work,
church.
right.
And by the way, at Faye's Family Center, there were events that took place on Sunday afternoons and Sunday evenings, and the same will happen here. But our prime time is Sunday mornings.
Yep.
So
Good. Keep it up. Great
okay,
work.
thank you. All right, Peter, if you could close us with some comments. Okay.
Thank you so much for asking about the trucks, because we do have an ordinance that was just passed 4 months ago, and I would encourage any of the citizens to contact Roswell Police Department when you see a truck where you don't want that truck to be, and they are obligated to take care of that for you. So please do let the police know. Secondly, I just want to take an opportunity on behalf of the city to thank you guys. I don't know how much you folks know about redevelopment and the challenges that it presents. Redevelop indicates that there is a landowner that already owns the property. And that makes it very challenging at times, unless you have people like this who are willing to have meetings like this and involve the public. And so I applaud you two for doing this, and I thank you on behalf of the city. And the city will be working hand in hand with you folks to make this all a reality and make it as beautiful as it can be. So just thank you so much on behalf of the city.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. Wow. Well, I'm not just here as a pastor of a church. I'm not here as a budding new real estate developer. I'm kind of learning that business. I'm really here as a Roswell citizen and a frustrated East Roswellian. So a lot of the properties in this area have not been owned by people who live here. And the Kohls property, the people we bought it from, they're in New York, great people, but they didn't have a vested interest of what happens in this community. It was a pure business deal for them. And so all I'm telling you is I live here, I have been living here, I'm not going anywhere, I'll die here, and I love the city. I even did something stupid a couple of years ago, and I ran for mayor, okay? So, so that shows you how crazy I am right there. But our hearts are here, and I promise you we're going to do something special. And I'll close with this. Meetings like this, you don't know what to expect. And I'm going to say this, that every comment that I heard today was outstanding, and it's going to make us better. And we will consider everything. And I have been educated and enlightened just by listening to you all. The last thing that we're going to do, David, I didn't get your approval on this, so sorry about this, but it's not anything bad. We know that you all will go and talk to people, then there'll be more questions. So we have a website. Actually, it's not a website. It's just an email, info at, what is it, my marketing, The Beacon. It's on there. There we go. There we go. Info at thebeaconroswell.com. It's not a website. It's just something we want to keep open just for a little while, so you can just shoot us some questions, and we will get back with you with an answer. Okay? All right. That's it. Thank you all very much. All right. Thank you.